Welcome to Mindful Stories, a place where stories are not told just to entertain, but to awaken something inside you. Today's story is about an ordinary person living an ordinary life, yet carrying an extraordinary struggle inside. This is not a story of sudden success or dramatic miracles. It is a story of silent battles, unnoticed efforts, and slow inner change that many people experience but rarely talk about. This story is for those who feel stuck even after doing everything right. For those who wake up every day, complete their responsibilities, and still feel something is missing. If you've ever questioned your worth, your pace, or your purpose, this story will speak to you in ways you may not expect. He lived a life that looked stable from the outside. A regular job, a small rented room, predictable routines, and polite conversations. People around him believed he was doing fine, because he never complained. But inside, there was a quiet dissatisfaction he could not explain, a feeling that life was passing by while he stood still. Every morning, he followed the same routine. Wake up, check his phone, rush through breakfast, and prepare for work. His days felt repetitive, almost mechanical, as if he was living on autopilot. He wasn't unhappy, but he wasn't fulfilled either, and that confusion troubled him more than pain ever could. At work, he completed his tasks responsibly, yet he never felt proud of them. He compared himself constantly with others who seemed more confident, more successful, and more certain about their future. Each comparison planted another seed of doubt in his mind, slowly weakening his self-belief. At night, when the world became quiet, his thoughts became loud. Questions appeared without answers. Is this all my life will be? Am I falling behind? Did I waste my potential? These thoughts kept him awake longer than he wanted to admit. He tried motivating himself with videos, quotes, and advice from others. For a few hours, he felt inspired, but by the next morning, everything felt the same again. Motivation faded, and frustration returned stronger, making him feel guilty for not changing fast enough. What he didn't realize was that his biggest struggle was not failure, but impatience. He wanted clarity instantly, growth immediately, and results without understanding the process. This constant pressure exhausted him emotionally, even though nothing dramatic was happening externally. One evening, after another long and ordinary day, he sat alone without distractions. No phone, no music, no noise. For the first time, he allowed himself to observe his thoughts instead of fighting them. This moment of silence became a turning point he did not expect. He noticed how harshly he spoke to himself. Every mistake felt like proof of inadequacy. Every delay felt like evidence of failure. He realized that no one judged him as strictly as he judged himself, and that realization unsettled him deeply. Slowly, he began questioning his own thinking patterns. Why did he believe progress should be fast? Why did he think everyone else was ahead? Why did he equate self-worth with achievement? These questions opened doors he had kept closed for years. He understood that his mind had been trained to chase outcomes, not growth. He valued destinations but ignored journeys. This mindset made every step feel insufficient, even when he was moving forward. Instead of changing everything at once, he decided to start small. Not dramatic goals, but manageable actions. Reading a few pages daily. Reflecting before sleeping. Writing his thoughts without judging them. These small habits felt insignificant, yet calming. Days passed, and nothing extraordinary happened. But something subtle changed his awareness. He began noticing his reactions, his fears, and his negative self-talk. Awareness did not fix everything, but it created space between him and his emotions. He learned that growth often feels boring before it feels rewarding. It requires patience without validation and effort without applause. Accepting this truth removed the constant pressure to feel successful every day. Gradually, he stopped comparing timelines. He realized that people only show highlights, not struggles. What looked like confidence in others was often uncertainty hidden behind appearances. He also understood that purpose is not discovered overnight. It is shaped slowly through experiences, failures, and reflection. Expecting instant clarity was unrealistic and unfair to himself. There were still difficult days. Days when doubts returned, when progress felt invisible, and when quitting seemed easier. But now, instead of panicking, he accepted these days as part of the process. He stopped asking, "Why am I not there yet?" and started asking, "What can I learn today?" This shift in mindset reduced anxiety and increased curiosity. For the first time, he felt aligned with himself. Not confident, not successful, but honest. He stopped pretending to have everything figured out and allowed himself to be a work in progress. People around him didn't notice the change immediately. There were no dramatic transformations. But inside, he felt lighter. Less burdened by expectations and more focused on consistency. He realized that inner growth is invisible but powerful. It doesn't announce itself, yet it changes how you walk, speak, and think. Slowly, opportunities appeared, not because luck changed, but because his perspective did. He noticed possibilities where he once saw limitations. He became more patient with mistakes. Instead of labeling them as failures, he treated them as feedback. This approach reduced fear and encouraged experimentation. Most importantly, he learned to respect his own pace. Progress measured against others lost its meaning. Progress measured against yesterday became enough. He accepted that some days would feel unproductive, and that was okay. Growth was not linear, and expecting it to be only caused disappointment. Over time, his confidence became quieter but stronger. It was no longer dependent on results, but rooted in self-trust. He no longer chased motivation. He built discipline through small promises he kept to himself. Each kept promise strengthened his self-respect. Life did not suddenly become easy, but it became manageable. Challenges still existed, but they no longer felt overwhelming. He understood that success is not a destination but a relationship with yourself. How you treat yourself during uncertainty matters more than external achievements. The fear of being left behind slowly disappeared. He realized that life is not a race, but a personal journey with unique lessons. He stopped waiting for the perfect moment. Instead, he learned to work with imperfect circumstances. With time, he developed clarity, not about everything, but about enough. Enough to move forward without fear. He became present, not constantly worrying about the future or regretting the past. Presence brought peace he had been searching for unknowingly. He discovered that fulfillment does not come from doing more, but from understanding yourself better. Even silence became comfortable. He no longer feared being alone with his thoughts. The emptiness he once felt transformed into space for growth, learning, and self-acceptance. He learned that slow progress is still progress. Invisible effort still counts. Life did not reward him instantly, but it respected his patience. And for the first time, he trusted that where he was exactly where he needed to be. This story is not about reaching the top. It is about learning how to stand firmly where you are. If you ever feel stuck, remember that growth often happens quietly. You don't need to rush your journey to validate your worth. Every small step matters, even when no one sees it. Trust your pace. Respect your process. Clarity comes with patience, not pressure. You are not late. You are learning. And learning is a lifelong journey. Thank you for spending your time with Mindful Stories. If this story made you reflect, stay connected. More meaningful stories await you here.